This conference will now be recorded.
In today's video, we're going to primarily focus on oil services companies. On Monday, we took a look at some of the larger cap oil companies with regard to a recent move down in oil. We also looked at oil in more detail, so I'm not going to focus too much on that. But we have so far 3 waves down off of the January high. Either we're going to get only a 4th wave bounce into 54 resistance and one more low, and then likely a wave 2 bounce or the possible start of something more bullish. Or we've already started the bounce after only 3 waves down, either in a potential orange count of something more bullish or already in the wave 2 bounce. So we have a pretty high probability that this 49 region, 49.25, is going to hold for at least more of a bounce. So we're going to take a look at some of those oil services companies and see which ones might be potentially making a larger degree low, or at least having room for more of that bounce. So we'll start with OIH. OIH is the Oil Services Company ETF, which only started back in 2011. It got an initial move up and then this large ABC retrace so far. That could end up being a Y wave, and we're going to look at that in a little bit more detail. If this is going to be a C wave, then ideally it needs more of a 4th wave bounce and then a 5th wave down, which would be targeting the 8 region, 853, maybe all the way down here towards 796. But it is possible that this is a W, X, and then a Y wave, and the Y wave is only an ABC move. So instead of 1, 2, 3, this could be trying to complete an A, B, C wave for a Y. So we're going to zoom in here and take a look at the structure off of this initial low, which is clearly only corrective. So we're not looking at this as a major bottom just yet. But the low that we held here, this triple bottom now, or double bottom from the third, came to a 100% retrace, which is certainly valid as a B wave. And we have a move off of that possible support. So there's very good risk reward for this potential C wave up in that parentheses wave 4 before it comes down to make a final low in that 853 region. So good risk reward with support at 1075. Targeting the 15 region, this could possibly turn into an ending diagonal, but this is initial start to what we think is wave 1 of a C wave bounce. If this support breaks, I would certainly want to stop out because it could get a very significant final drop as a capitulation low, but there is potential that this 993 fib over here for what I have labeled as the C wave extensions could be the next target for the parentheses C of a Y wave making one more low. So if the 1075 breaks before this completes a C wave up, that might be the next support for a potential significant bottom instead of filling out the larger 4-5. But from right here, there is good support, is it for an immediate continuation higher, possibly in line with that bounce in oil. So now we're going to look at some of those individual names that might support that kind of potential. I'm going to zoom out first for some context, starting here with SLB. We have a larger cycle degree 5 waves up that can count as the super cycle wave 1 in SLB, and a corrective move that I have labeled as an A, B, and a C wave, which again, if it's a C wave, then it should get more of a 4th and then a 5th wave down. But it is possible to count this as a W, X, and then an A, B, C wave completing for a Y wave in this 29 or 31 to 30 region of support. Possibly even making one more low towards the 27-40 region, but it doesn't necessarily need to get this bigger 4th and a 5th wave to be a more significant bottom. But similar to what we were looking at in OIH, if this is going to hold this recent 33 region as a low, I think right about 33, I'm going to zoom into the 4 hour. so we can see that a little bit better. This recent low right here, just under 33, can be the start of a C wave up in that larger wave 4, and can be very much in line with an expected 5 waves up that we see potential for in the OIH chart. So really good SLB. SLB is one of the very large components of the OIH chart ETF, so reasonable that this should get a similar or direct a similar move there. Moving on to two other components, we have rig, and we'll also look at diamond offshore. Both of those look like they're in respective 5th waves down of larger C waves off of this October 2018 high. And both of those count as ending diagonals, but they count a little bit differently. But we have here, both of them look like they're in the 5th wave of that 5th. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And because they're diagonals, this 5th wave should be an A, B, C wave move. So we can get more of a bounce in this small degree B wave inside the final ABC of the 5th here, of this 5th wave. But when this drops, from resistance in this high 5s or 6s, this can easily come down towards 3, maybe even stretching down towards the 2s. But this has potential of being a very significant long-term bottom in Transocean because it's completing a very nice 5 waves for the 5th of a larger C wave. Very similar to that is diamond offshore, DO. Again, from the 2018 high, we have a possible ABC for wave 1, a corrective move for the 3rd, a nice flat for the 4th wave, and then an A, working on more of a B wave bounce towards the high 5s or low 6 region. And then from there, we can project down towards a 3.0 or 296 level for the completion of that move, maybe spiking down into the 2s. But we know, one of the things that we know is that diagonals, even if we're going to get a corrective bounce and not the start of a longer term bullish move, a corrective bounce is likely over the next several months or a year or so to get back up into the same region as where these diagonals started from. So that means a longer term move that at least heads back up towards the same 2018 highs on both of these names. So even if it's corrective and takes several months to happen, that still is a pretty substantial bounce from the low single digits. Moving on to NOV. NOV can fit in a similar pattern to unlike SLB that completed a larger wave 1 here, this looks like just the top of a 3rd, and then a 4th wave instead of an A wave of the correction, and then a 5th wave that made a truncated high. So it didn't actually get higher than the 3rd, but that is certainly valid in some patterns. And from there, we're filling out a corrective ABC retrace. This C wave right here looks a little bit short. So similar to some of those other charts that we were looking at, it looks like we might get more of a C wave of a corrective bounce and then one more low after that towards the mid-teens. But off of this recent 20.25 low, it looks like we can get more of a C wave up into the late spring or early summer towards the high 20s as the A, B, C of this flat in a bigger bounce. Very similar to that is FTI, both at the larger degree and in its potential for a bounce. Similar to NOV, this was a 3rd here in 2008, a 4th wave, but it actually made a higher high in its 5th wave up. And now we have a corrective ABC move down, but because this is only retraced 38.2% of the entire longer term move to the upside, we do have to consider that this was only the A wave. That being said, even if this is just the A wave of a cycle degree ABC move, the B wave can be a pretty substantial move up. So we did only get to a 78.6% extension of this A, B, C, but we do have a nice looking 5 waves as an ending diagonal for the C wave, and a decent turn up. So off of that support at the recent low in the 1560s, we can be starting this bigger corrective bounce. And that's what we're going to zoom in on right now. They can at least be taking us up towards the high 20s and possibly even into the 30s. It would be a larger A, B, C move for that B wave. And the A wave itself would be made up of an A, B, C move, and then that A wave itself an A, B, C move. So this move up could be just the A wave of this A wave. So probably don't want to chase it right here, but any consolidation that we get into the mid 16s, mid to high 16s, could be a nice setup for a swing move up into the 1920 region, then look to trim and fade that back for another setup for the bigger C wave from the 17 region again up towards the 21 region. And then again, fade that in another B wave and then set up for the swing up into the mid 20s from the 17 region again. So a lot of good potential to trade for some of those pops and drops along with a very volatile oil market. Halliburton is the next one that I wanted to take a look at. We're going to zoom out a little bit here. Again, into the 2008 high, we can count a larger, I'm going to up this 1 degree. We could count that same larger super cycle wave 1 that we have in some of those other charts. And then the potential for this being a larger correction. If it's an A, B, and a C wave, that's why I have this alt wave 2 here, that we should get more of a 4th wave bounce and then a 5th wave, which is in line with the potential that we looked at for some of those other names like OIH and SLB for getting more of a 4th wave bounce and then a 5th wave down. But it is certainly possible to count this as a WXY as shown for that larger, wider flat for wave 2. And potentially starting, we'll move the fib extension over here, possibly starting this wave 1 of a much larger wave 1, or of the start of this cycle degree, super cycle wave 3. So we do have this A, B, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete as a C wave. And what I want to focus on Halliburton is off of the low, we have off of this August low so far, we have the potential to be holding the 4th wave of a leading diagonal. So that can give us a nice swing potential in line with some of the more recent, more bounce in the near term in oil off of the 21.2 low that it just hit for a move up towards the 27-28 region as the 5th wave of wave 1. And then we would want to fade that, trim, and look to re-establish a position on an ABC retrace holding support as a wave 2. But this presents itself off of the recent low here as a nice scalp. Even if that ends up turning into a bigger corrective bounce and then dropping down to another low, with this part of the move would be the high probability portion for a scalp higher. Also wanted to take a look at CLB briefly. This too, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here, can be completing a larger A, B, and a C wave down from its 2014 high. So that could be in line with some of the Y waves that we see in some of those other names that have been around longer. But a very nice high probability triangle in here. And then because of the structure that I see in this ending diagonal for the C wave, we have a larger wave 1, a slightly smaller 3rd. And because the 3rd is smaller than wave 1, and we know that wave 3 can never be the shortest, we can easily be completing this small 5th wave, parenthesis 5, that is making a nominal new low under the 3rd and hit a 138.2% extension just under 36 for this C wave. We don't have very much of any kind of movement off of that low yet, but this first move up into resistance would be this 43 to 47 region where we have the fib fans and some moving averages. So we can start looking at CLB for some micro movement. to look at maybe some speculative potential off of that low. And lastly, I wanted to take a look at PTR. PTR is a Chinese name, Chinese oil servicing company. I'm going to zoom out here to a 2-week chart so that you can see the longer term projection potential based on 5 waves up here for this cycle degree wave 1 off of the 2000 low into the 2007 high. There was a 1,772% move up off of the all-time low there. And from that, we have a very nice A, B, and 5 waves completing a C wave into the 618 retrace, just slightly under it at the moment. So we don't have any kind of confirmation yet of a bottom in this 40 region, but as a speculative position, there's tremendous potential for just a measured move to take this up into the 390 to 780 region. As just a 100% extension. And if it's going to get normal Fibonacci extension for a third wave based on logarithmic scale, that puts it in the high 2300 to 2400 region for normal third wave Fibonacci extension. In the shorter term, we'd be looking for a 5-wave move up into the 127 to 180, maybe even stretching all the way up here to the 254 region as the primary degree wave 1. So once we start to show initial signs of a low, we're going to be looking for a 1-2 count in the parentheses wave 1 inside that larger primary degree wave 1. And so then zooming in just a little bit further off the low, we can see inside this parentheses 5, we can count an A, B, and a C wave completing. We're right at that purple 61.8% fib at the very large cycle degree. And if we get a nice move up for wave 1 towards the 54s and then pull back towards the 47 region as a wave 2, that would make a really nice inverse head and shoulders here as at that cycle degree wave 2 low. So we don't have anything confirming a low just yet, but we are right at that fib. We have completing potential counts at the larger degrees. So it's absolutely the time to start looking for some speculative nibbles and for a little bit of microstructure, that maybe that first little micro 1-2 that looks like the start of this wave 1 that would be heading all the way up into the 54 to 57 region. And lastly, I wanted to take a look at MPC again. We did look at this on Monday. On Monday, we were looking at this to possibly get one more low down here into the 618 or maybe stretching towards 4850. It looks like it got just a nominal new low, so we can't count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves in the yellow C. And then it's turning up nicely. So this does not yet look like a clean 5 up yet, but it's a pretty small degree, but maybe a little bit more of a 4-5 up to here to about 5750, 5775. Would be a wave 1 inside this wave 1 and the start of this bigger green 3 that's targeting up into the 98 region. So don't have confirmation yet of this low, but we can trade as though this low is going to hold with support at that 52 region for a really good risk reward move in MPC targeting into the 90s. All right, we'll go ahead and end there, and I will see you guys next time.